liberal democratic utopianism. But I might simply start by talking about three parts of utopian thinking. The point is that utopian thinking and utopianism is not an ideology as such. I mean, more we're referring here to intellectual projects, whether they be in literature, religion or politics, which constitute some form of description of an ideal society that could exist at some point in time, or indeed that the author believes has previously existed or could have previously existed had conditions been suitable to it. And of course, his fundamental principle was that of exchanges of equal value for equal value, which you might now ask whatever that means. But he had a principle that would somehow build a perfect society. So you can have, of course, also utopian projects which are theoretical, Plato and Marx. You can have utopian projects which are real. And for those of you who are interested in the subject, there are fantastic books about all the quite crazy, practical, experimental utopias that people from time to time have engaged in. And they are marvellous and interesting reading. The other point I'd make here is that utopias are not always meant to be taken seriously. A blueprint might be given because the writer honestly and earnestly believes it could be achieved, or indeed that they advocate that people actually try and achieve it when you get these experimental utopias. Or they might simply say, I acknowledge that this could never be achieved, but in my mind it is the ideal amongst which other things should be compared. And here I am talking about, when I apply it to modern liberal democracy, individual thinkers and policymakers and the thoughts that they bring to bear in discrete policy areas. So I guess the second point that I want to make as a matter of definition about utopianism is that whilst it is most readily applied to these grand blueprint utopias of Marx or Plato or agrarian socialist thinkers like William Morris, it can also be used as a concept to describe individual persons and their individual thoughts or clusters of thoughts in discrete policy areas. And this is the application that I see it having to modern liberal democratic thought. So I'm talking here about the thinking of a single person or a group who have a conception or proposal for an attempt to create radically improved social or political conditions, even if that conception or proposal falls short of a thoroughgoing plan to reorganise each and every single aspect of society. I think that's a fair way in which the term utopian or utopianism can and is used in modern parlance. Now, the third thing I'd say is that utopian is used in a pejorative fashion as well as literal. Literal to describe a utopian project, someone who wants to describe the ideal society or tries for whatever reason. But it's also used in the pejorative sense. And ever since More wrote and used the neologism of utopia to describe his book, and using and borrowing two Greek words, which literally meant good and nowhere. And of course, that has led to this divergent use of the word in its literal and pejorative sense, so that the pejorative sense is that in rhetoric you often criticise anyone whose views you consider extravagantly ideal to be a utopia. So the three things are, it usually refers to blueprints, but secondly it can refer to individual thinkers in individual policy areas. Thirdly, it is used pejoratively, which is what I am doing, to criticise a mode of thought that I see growing up in and about modern liberal democracy.